They don't contain crude oil, but it is literally it comes from crude oil.
Yeah.
And so does plastic. Like we don't want to be ingesting that.
So Joe and
Uh-huh.
I made a Christmas list this year in a
Hmm.
different way that you might be thinking. It's like a Christmas bucket list. So I
Oh,
wanted to
cute.
get really like hygge vibes and like cozy and make it feel more like a tradition and like the Christmas
Hmm.
spirit because I'm just like I feel like I'm one of those people that's just very focused and I'm like, okay, let's just like get through it
Hmm. I hear you.
and let's be productive and work and it's fine. So this year I'm like, we need to like have some traditions, we need to have some fun with the season. So one of the things that I had on my list was to bake Christmas cookies,
Love.
which I haven't done since I was home, which was a long time ago.
Hmm.
But one problem, and this will lead straight into what we're talking about today. One issue that I was having was I wanted to make sugar cookies from scratch, and then I wanted
Yep.
to make some sort of icing. And obviously,
Hmm.
all the pretty sugar cookies have like reds and greens and
Hmm.
blues in the icing. I'm like, we can't buy any of that.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. So mom and I have been making sugar cookies.
Have you? Have you been using anything for colors?
I haven't looked yet. Usually we
Okay,
use
that's
like
okay.
with like bakery level dye. And I'm sure
Okay.
this year we will do the same thing, but my God, I wish we didn't have to. Maybe I'm gonna look it up and like order it really quick before next week.
Yeah, well, I mean, this leads into what we're talking about today, but I'm also
Yeah.
like, can you use like
You can use fruit.
or something?
Yeah. You can use
Yeah,
like
or like
beet
fruit.
juice and or like
Yeah,
boiled blueberries, probably.
to
We could look it up.
color. Yeah, we should. Okay,
Because like in Canada, Fruit Loops are made of fruit colors.
versus here they're made of
Red dye number
dyes.
three. Ah, I don't want it.
Okay. So,
Gross. Okay. We're talking
welcome to
about
the well-being.
food. Welcome back.
Today, today we are talking about artificial sweeteners and dyes in our
Yeah, a
foods.
little bit about dyes.
Mhm.
Dyes are like terrifying, honestly. And I feel like we just did like an overarching thing about dyes, like specifically B1 and Red 3 and Red 40, but all of them are bad, period. It's bad for you. They're made of, they are derived from petroleum. And everyone will say, but there's no crude oil left in them. I am here to tell you it's still a problem. It has been linked to cancer in animals, um, contaminated with other carcinogens, hypersensitivity reactions, microbiological and rodent studies of yellow 5 were positive for genotoxicity. So that's poisoning your human genome. I mean, they did it in rats, but we can assume it's the same in humans. Red 40 is linked to hyperactivity and ADHD in most situations and in the research. Blue 1 causes kidney tumors in mice, and there's evidence of death due to ingestion through a feeding tube. Obviously, these are like high levels of these things when they do these tests, but we are not good at moderation. And honestly, I think that like everything in moderation is a problem because sugar in moderation doesn't look like less than 20 grams of sugar, and we can do a whole thing on sugar. It's a problem. That is like my single vice in life is a lot of sweets. I'm here with you, but it is a problem. Blue dyes, red dye, yellow dye, it is all so bad for you. And the other day I was talking to my mom and she's like, "But there's no more red M&Ms. What are you talking about? They don't use red 40 anymore." And I was like, "I don't know what you're talking about." And she's like, "Yeah, they used to ban it." And I was like, "Well, somehow it's gotten unbanned because it is definitely not a thing." However, I keep seeing this research. We can find the article. It's not research, it's an article about the government in the US potentially banning more food dyes coming up in the next couple of weeks here, maybe as we release
Hmm.
this even, which could be absolutely amazing for everyone. And I would be super into. So it's just really not good for you. And again, they don't contain crude oil, but it is literally, it comes from crude oil.
Yeah,
And so does plastic. Like we don't want to be ingesting that. We all know that. So
right.
it's that article the other day where it's like you should get rid of all of your black plastic in your kitchen. I'm like, you guys, yes. Obviously, but it's not obvious to everyone,
Hmm.
clearly.
Yeah.
Um, but I follow this dietitian who I really like, and I'm not going to put her on blast, but she's like, I'm going to finally get rid of mine. And I'm like, girl, you are in the research. She always is posting research about stuff. And I'm like, okay, but even if you are in the research with the food world, you are still using plastic utensils and non-stick pans and stuff like that. So please get rid of them.
Yike. I want to go back to what you said about everything in moderation because I think that's such a good point.
Hmm.
Because I'm going to try and figure out how to say this in a smart way, but it might not come out that way. Because I think that is a great sentence for things like, oh, I'm going to have some candy today.
Hmm.
Everything in moderation. We're
Hmm.
healthy. We're fine. But the key point of that statement is that everything else in your life should mostly be healthy besides that candy for the day.
Hmm.
And how our world sets us up is that, okay, maybe you had something that you didn't know has artificial sweeteners or like this dye in it. So
Hmm.
technically, it's not in moderation because you're
Hmm.
having so many other pieces of that throughout your day that you're just not aware of.
Correct. Especially sugar. Like I don't know if this was on Baby Fit that I saw this or somewhere else. It was something about children's food and sugar. Maybe you wasn't you. I don't know. Regardless, baby food, almost all of it contains sugar, which is terrifying because you shouldn't
Mhm.
have added sugar until you are over 2 years old.
Yeah,
But like the non-chewing baby food, again, I don't have kids yet, but
pureed food.
pureed food, thank you. I was talking to my mom about this. She's like, "Oh yeah, I made it all from scratch, even in the
Mhm.
90s, because that stuff
Yeah,
is bad for you."
yeah.
And I think that's so interesting because there is so much added sugar in there, and
Hmm.
it just sneaks by people, and it's not your fault because we absolutely positively should not be adding sugar to 1 year old food. That's
Right.
crazy to me,
Yes.
but
It
we're
disrupts
still
your
doing it.
palate.
It disrupts your palate. It
Yeah.
increases the likelihood you'll be obese or have type 2 diabetes in the
Hmm.
future. It
Hmm.
is so hugely problematic. So that's where I'm kind of thinking like the concept of moderation is a good one,
Hmm.
but these foods are also chemically designed to make you overeat them.
Yes. And
Or like,
have you ever, okay, here's my life. I will first, however, probably unintentionally somehow cut out sugar
mm-hmm,
where I'm just like eating in a grind of just like eating healthy. I'm feeling
mm-hmm,
great. I'm paying attention to how my body feels.
mm-hmm.
And then someone in our house, I'm not going to say who, brings home Scandinavian swimmers from Trader Joe's,
So good. Stop. Those are
which
some of the
are,
best.
yeah, like gummy candy is
Oh.
my, I can't resist it. So then
Mm-hmm.
night one, I have some of these and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
oh my God, my life is amazing now. And then I need them. I need them every night. I'm like an addict. And then like in the middle of the day, I need to go down
Mm-hmm.
and like have a few.
Same.
And then at night. And then when we're out, I'm like, oh my God, like we need to go get more now. We're out.
100%.
How am I gonna
A
survive?
150,000%. My I am a gummy candy fiend. Fiend.
Yes.
And I'm
Yeah.
literally getting cavities because I do it when we are driving from California to
Mm-hmm.
Wyoming or Wyoming to California. That is my
Yeah.
vice when I drive because I cannot stay awake when I drive long
Hmm.
distances. I am not
Yeah.
Midwestern like you guys. I cannot drive long distances and not fall asleep. I'm incapable. But obviously, D can't drive all 16 hours because that's insane. And so I probably drive between 3 and 4 hours and can barely stay awake. So I chew gummy candy. It is never Scandinavian swimmers. It is always the cheapest has been at the gas station for a year and a
Yeah.
half and is stale.
They're like kind
Um,
of like crunchy on the
yeah,
outside.
it's
Yeah.
bad. That's what I eat. The Haribo mix bag. The
Oh yes.
amount of dyes that are in there, I am aware of. It is horrendous,
Hmm.
but I generally stay away from it when we're not on road trips.
Yeah.
That being said, they are still my favorite thing on this planet. And
Yeah.
none of the other ones that have good ingredients are as good. They do not taste as good.
Yeah.
I hear you. But it is so bad for you.
Yeah. It's
So
bad.
bad for you.
And
It's
then
literally
and then it
causes
starts the
cancer.
spiral of
Hmm.
like the
Exactly.
addiction spiral. Then you
100%.
need them. Yeah.
100%. Not
Also,
good.
I just want to say a
Hmm.
short plug. If you are from the Midwest and you think road trips longer than 10 hours, should I say, are
Yeah, sure.
normal, they are not in the rest of the world. For the rest of the US citizens, they are not normal.
Yeah, no, I don't think when I was a kid we ever drove anywhere further than 4 hours, and if we did, we flew. So
I found this
there's
out.
that.
I'm from the Midwest. Maddie is not. I found this out in grad school when she's like, why does everyone drive everywhere? Like, what is wrong with you
This is
people?
what happened. One weekend on a Friday afternoon, you drove to Colorado, which is 14 hours from Madison,
Mhm.
Wisconsin,
I think it
and
was
you
spring
drove
break.
back. No, you drove back on Sunday. Yes, you did a 3-day trip to Colorado where there was 28 hours of required driving.
Okay, I could see
And I
myself doing
said,
that.
that's insane. Why are we doing
I
this?
was
And
like,
then I got married to a Midwesterner who's the best.
yeah,
And he's like, well, we drive to California. We also have 2 dogs, which is a whole other issue. But
yeah.
yeah, I hate road trips, honestly. I do them, I tolerate them. It is not my preferred mode of transportation, but that is so off topic.
They are, I mean, they're terrible because you can't move and you have to
Correct.
sit, and nobody
Hmm.
is happy sitting that long.
No.
Even
Mm-mm.
if you like to sit and you say you don't like to move and exercise,
Hmm.
the reason you're grumpy is
Hmm.
because you're not moving.
Called people out. All right, the next topic we're gonna go for is BHA and BHT. This is everywhere.
Hmm.
It is in your skincare. It is in the packaging of your food. It is in preservatives of food because it says safe in small quantities.
Hmm.
Um, it is not safe.
Can you
So
tell us what those stand for?
yes,
Slash mean.
BHT, this is gonna be funny, you guys trying to have me pronounce this. Okay, butylated, I got that, is the B. The HT is hydroxytoluene. Toluene?
Oh.
Hydroxytoluene. T-O-8 hydroxy, and then Toluene, but that's one word. BHA is butylated hydroxyanisole. I think I
Crushed
got
that
that one.
one.
Crushed
Yeah.
that one for sure. So, BHA is a definite endocrine disruptor, meaning it disrupts your hormonal cascades, whether it is your thyroid hormones, your sex hormones, whatever there are thousands of hormones in your body. It is disrupting them. It is acting like them. It is filling the receptors of them. It is a problem. It's also a possible human carcinogen, and I have a feeling as we do more research, we will find that this is likely a definite carcinogen. And it is also in Europe a Category 1 priority substance with the Commission of Endocrine Disruption. That's how bad it is.
What does that
Um,
mean exactly?
it
Does that mean
means
it's not allowed there?
I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure it means it's not allowed.
Hmm. Okay. Do a
Yes.
quick little,
Yeah.
but
Do
okay.
a quick little search while I'm talking
So just
about.
to recap, and you correct me. So
Hmm.
I'm gonna let Maddie explain this, you guys, because
Hmm.
Maddie texted me earlier this week and she's like, how's the research going for food labels? And I was like, well, I haven't started yet, but how's it going for you? And Maddie's like, it is overwhelming. I started a like shared note on our phone. And so I
Hmm.
opened the note and I read the first like paragraph and I am terrified.
Uh-huh.
Terrified. So
Yeah. And
just to
we,
recap.
to recap, also, we were going to do all things you should look for in
Yeah.
labels, and
Yeah.
that was quickly ditched because this is going
Yeah.
to have to be like 100-part series of things to look for in labels.
Yeah.
We will add it to our spreadsheet when that comes out. The holidays
Mhm.
are so crazy, guys. We're going to aim for January.
Yeah.
But I know a lot of you are looking forward to that, so
Yeah.
it's
It's gonna be
important.
great.
But
Uh,
basically, uh, BHT, you can see in a lot of cereals. If you read the back, it says BHT added for preserved or for increased freshness or duration of freshness, something along those lines, especially in cereal bags. So they put the plastic bag, which
mm,
is already we know is a problem, and
mhm.
then they spray it or infuse it somehow with BHT,
Okay.
which can also damage the outside of your viral cells. It is
Amazing.
clinically used in higher quantities to treat cold sores and AIDS. And that is how much it can damage viral cells, which in that case would be a good thing. But they also use it safe in small quantities for preservatives in food. You can find it mostly in packaging, but it also enhances the induction of urinary bladder tumors and um does promoter of thyroid carcinogenesis. So cancer.
So I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So I am somebody that
Mm-hmm.
gets made fun of because I love healthy cereals, healthy, quote.
You have
Like,
to read the back.
so even this, and it will say BHT, and this could be present in a quote, healthy cereal versus like
Mm-hmm. It could
Reese's
be.
Puffs.
Yeah. I mean, it kind
Okay.
of depends. You have to read the back. It's right
Okay.
on the nutrition label. It's bolded at the bottom. BHT added for freshness.
Okay. Because it's in the bag versus like in
Hmm.
the actual cereal.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense.
It's below the nutrition from where I found it so far.
Okay. Okay.
So if you see BHA or BHT on a label, I would try as much as you can to avoid it.
Hmm.
It's also, I found a lot of BHT. I'm trying to again clean up my skincare.
Hmm.
Um, and kind of like look at some things and switch things out as we are on this journey. And BHT is in a lot of them, like
In our
in
skincare?
our skincare.
Madison?
Rachel said, I know. I would say don't stop using
I'm
it.
stressed.
I
Okay.
know. I would say don't stop using it, but I would say I
Switch
will be
next time.
texting you to switch things. Yes. But artificial sweeteners are the next thing that I wanted to talk about. And this is the last thing. And this is how I'm trying to keep it short and sweet because this is
Hmm.
crazy, but
Yeah.
this is the longest part of what I have to say here.
Let's do
I've
it.
always been a cane sugar girly. I know it is a problem. I try to stay under 20 grams of sugar, added sugar a day. That does not include fruits and vegetables, but it does include like processed added cane sugar. Then everyone said, okay,
Which is
well,
like the recommended amount, right?
recommended.
Right.
Yeah. Mhm. So artificial sweeteners do not contain sugar, but they have a direct effect on the body's ability to utilize glucose. Glucose intolerance, generally thought to occur when the body cannot cope with large amounts of sugar in the diet, is the first step to the path of metabolic syndrome, which and the adult onset of diabetes. So that was on Science Daily. We will link that. But that I thought was really interesting because even artificial sweeteners, which are not supposed to have any impact or calories on your diet and gut health, actually are having a really big impact. So the most common ones are going to be ace sulfame potassium, which is sweet one, or Sunette, Ace K is what it's called. Then Advantame, which I don't know. That was one I had some of the hardest time finding information about because I'd never see it on labels. Aspartame, that is everywhere. It is also called NutraSweet or Equal. Neotame, which is also called Nutame. Saccharin, which is sweet and low. Sucralose, which is Splenda. Pure, and then there's stevia and monk fruit, which those ones don't have the same effects as the things I'm about to say, but I wanted to include those as an artificial sweetener because technically it is a 0 calorie artificial sweetener. But so long as stevia is processed correctly, there's a chemical processing and a water processing. So long as it's processed through water, which you would have to ask the brand, it should be safer than the other options. So,
Okay.
aspartame, let's start there. It's everyone's favorite. It's in Diet Coke, friends.
So just to recap really fast,
Yes.
these ones that we're about to talk about and that you're mentioning are the names of things that you can find on food labels, correct?
Yeah, you'll find these on food labels. It's kind of like Advil or ibuprofen, right? It's like the brand name of it versus the chemical name for it.
Okay, perfect.
Um, okay, and we will list these in well, Rachel will list these for us in the caption because
I
she's
will
our
list.
official caption writer because
I
I can't write.
am.
So like messed up our website because I can't read. Okay, so aspartame. This is an artificial sweetener. It's been linked to behavioral and cognitive problems, possible neurophysiological symptoms, including learning problems, headache, seizure, migraine, irritable moods, anxiety, depression, and insomnia. So I thought this was really, really, really interesting because the number of people who love Diet Coke more than regular Coke, and they're like, it's healthier than having a regular Coke, wrong. Because aspartame actually disrupts your gut microbiome probably more than the other just cane sugar. No, cane sugar is not good for you, but if you're gonna have one Coke, hopefully one Coke a month. If you're gonna do it, probably once a year is better or never.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't drink. Sometimes I'll have a Coke instead. I try to avoid Diet Coke. I prefer Olipop, which has
Hmm.
9
Oh
grams.
yeah.
Um,
So this is the answer to
it-
that question when people are like,
yes.
what's
Oh,
even in Diet Coke? Like, why is it 0 calories? There you go.
Gary's, let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so aspartame also raises phenylalanine levels, which at higher levels can be neurotoxic. And I do know people who drink at least one Diet Coke every single day. So if you are doing this once in a while, then the phenylalanine level's probably not going to be super, super high. But if you're doing it every day or twice a day, I know some people who only drink Diet Coke and not water.
Hmm.
That is a problem.
Or
And
sub Diet Coke for coffee in the morning.
exactly. I know
Yeah.
people when I used to serve before I bartended with you, I used to serve at this steakhouse in Wisconsin, and people would
Oh.
put Diet Coke in their coffee and then creamer. Yep,
Ew.
correct.
I'm
I
sorry.
tried it, a sip of it once, and I was like, this is not for me.
It's not okay. That's not
Um,
okay, friends.
no, it's not good.
Team,
So
sis,
there are
stop.
basically gut and neurological effects on every single one of these, and it alters your gut microbiome and induces glucose intolerance, which is what it's supposed to help you avoid is glucose. Oh, it just
Hmm.
started raining in California. Woo. It's supposed to help you avoid weight gain and glucose intolerance and insulin resistance and all of these things, but it's actually probably contributing to that. This is sort of like the comparison where they say, well, we introduce SSRIs and depression and anxiety are worse than ever, right? We introduced fake sugar and obesity is worse than ever.
Hmm.
And
Right.
people who are overweight and obese, they're aware. And most people, if not all, are typically trying to do something about it, like drink these 0-calorie options if they
Hmm.
still want a
Right.
soda. But it
Hmm.
is disrupting your microbiome so much that it is likely making it more difficult for you to absorb nutrients, absorb the right amount of water, make you crave things like
Hmm.
vegetables, right? When you are eating
Yeah.
a lot of vegetables, you will crave carrots. This is not a joke.
Hmm.
So when you think of it that way, this is actually detrimental to your gut microbiome and the health of you as a human.
Right. And that's why nutrition and weight loss is so much more than just tracking how many calories you're taking in.
Totally.
It depends what
Hmm.
type of chemicals you're taking in because
Absolutely.
yeah, just for all the reasons that you just mentioned. But that's
Yeah.
why it is so important. I think like an easy rule of thumb, if you are somebody that wants to lose weight or wants to just feel better, like I think we
Hmm.
mentioned in our very first episode ever that both of our stomachs hurt a lot of the time.
Hmm.
Like I'll eat
Yes.
something and be like, wow, I don't feel good again. And
Hmm.
if you are one of those people or you're looking to lose weight, I think an easy rule to follow is to just try to cut out all things that are processed.
Yeah. I totally agree.
Yeah. Anyways,
I
that was
totally
great.
agree.
Great
Yes.
information. I'm loving
Thank
this.
you. Okay. Next. Um is Ace sulfame potassium, which is sweet one or Sonnet, is what you would typically see it on the back. This is also a microbiome disruptor and inducing glucose intolerance. The observed body weight gain shifts the gut bacterial community composition enrichment of functional bacterial genes related to energy metabolism and fecal metabolomic changes were highly gender specific and effects were different for males and females, which I thought was really interesting.
Hmm.
I believe that it affected males worse than females, which is like that's a
Oh,
first for everything,
add
right?
it to the short list.
Short list. But the functional impact of ACE-K on the gut microbiome is largely unknown, but there is a functional impact, and that is likely the problem.
Okay.
Okay. Advantum, this is the one I found least of, but I've also never seen on a label. I'd also try to avoid processed food. If you've seen this on a label, please send it to me because I don't
Hmm.
know where to find it.
Yeah.
Um, so there's that. And then neotame or new tame is the next one. Again, a negative impact on the epithelium microbiota relationship in the gut and has the potential to influence a large range of gut functions, resulting in poor gut health, which impacts a large range of conditions, including, but not limited to, metabolic and inflammatory diseases, neuropathic pain, and neurological conditions. So most of the people who follow me are people with vestibular migraine or vestibular disorder. So I'm going to speak to that really quickly, which is
Hmm.
if you are having a neurological disorder, which most vestibular disorders are, not all, processed and chemically sweetened foods like this are probably going to be making you worse.
Hmm.
And also, please avoid it for babies.
Oh, yes.
My mom had Coke in her bottle when she was a kid, or Pepsi, because her mom just like didn't know.
Oh boy. I mean,
Hmm.
not, I mean,
So,
honestly, the that comes back
mhm.
to we nobody's telling us about these things. So
Correct.
unless you want to know these
Hmm.
things, you either have to seek it out, like through a podcast, like what we're doing,
Sure.
or you have to look up the research.
Yeah, which is
Nobody
hard to
has
do.
time for that.
This took me probably 10 hours. This took me a long time, like multiple days of like looking and watching TV and scrolling and all the things.
It's a
Looking at
lot of
people.
work.
It is a
So
lot of work.
it's no one's fault either.
No,
Like
it's
if
not your
you are
fault.
eating these, I eat these things, and like
Hmm.
obviously Maddie does too, because we're addicted to
Sugar,
gummies. Yeah.
gummies.
Yeah, the just normal gummies.
Correct. Yeah.
To be
I really
fair.
don't like weed. Okay, that's just me. Okay. Saccharin, which is sweet and low. Um, Saccharin is also called sweet twin, sweet and low, and nectar-sweet.
Is
Or
sweet and low is like those pink packets that
yes,
you
at the
like
coffee
rip
shop.
and like yes, okay.
Hmm. So in rats, again, this is not in humans, and I want to be very clear about that.
Hmm.
The research that I found
Hmm.
for rats here was the administration of sodium saccharin significantly increased the incidence of bladder neoplasms induced by ulceration of bladder mucosa, which is crazy. And then another research study that I saw showed one disadvantage to using saccharin is that some studies show that large amounts of saccharin may negatively affect the balance of the bacteria in your gut. Microbial changes in the intestine may lead to type 2 diabetes, obesity, and in rare cases, cancer. That was on WebMD. Also crazy because that is in humans. Um, so yeah, I think overall, trying to avoid these as much as you possibly can is going to be a good idea. I honestly think that I forgot Splenda. Splenda is in the yellow
Mhm.
packet at the coffee shop. Um, there's my someone in my family who's not directly related to me, but is like a step person's husband's cousin, whatever, who comes
Somebody.
to our house a lot, drinks
Hmm.
Splenda. They're in their like 80s.
Yeah,
And so it's in
gotta
our
be.
fridge. And I was like, Mom, why do we have this in our fridge? She's like, it's for so and so, who I'm obviously not going to put on blast. But
Yeah.
I thought that was really interesting. And she's like, yeah, no one else touches it but him. Um,
I hope
anyway,
we have an 80-year-old
but
listener though.
same. Don't
Yeah.
drink this stuff.
Don't drink
But
this shit.
saccharin is the one I missed, right? Saccharin, sucralose.
Mhm.
That is in. Okay, so I know we love this person, Mari. She has a
Oh, I
company
was
with
like,
greens.
is it me?
No, we
Okay.
don't actually know
Okay.
her in real life. We listen to her podcast. She's a
Well, you met
great
her
resource.
once.
I did meet her once in a hat shop. Okay. And she's a lovely, wonderful person. They have a greens company and a colostrum, and
Hmm.
I use their colostrum collagen mix when I'm home in Jackson. I know you use their greens. They have a lot of really good products, which
Hmm.
I know the greens are stevia, but their energy drink is sweetened with saccharin. It says sucralose right on there.
Hmm.
And I tried it once. It tastes like, to me, everyone on the internet is obsessed. So like
Hmm.
that is neither here nor there. It has artificial sweetener, so it's not for me. I also like
Hmm.
I'm not an energy drink
Energy
girl.
drink. Yeah,
Mm-mm.
same.
But I just wanted to try it because everyone's talking
Hmm.
about it, right? And it's like
Yeah,
$3 at Target. So when I was
right.
there, whatever. So when I tried it, I it just tastes like syrup.
Yeah. I
Have you tried it?
I
But it
have, and
tastes like saccharin.
we
Anyway.
are maybe we're the best people to ask, but we're also the worst people to ask
Yeah.
because I hate drinks like that. Like
Same.
I don't like the taste of any
Yeah.
drinks. Like they just taste, I just can't do it. I don't do
Yeah,
it.
mm-mm. I one time instead of playing beer pong in high school, played monster pong in high school, and I will not tell you how that ended, but my heart was beating like a million miles an hour because I wouldn't drink. So, and I still don't like to drink, clearly. My heart was beating like a million miles an hour, and so was my friends. And then I woke up the next morning and I was in so much trouble because I slept in past my alarm because I couldn't go to sleep till like 5 a.m. And then we were having family over and I didn't wake up till 1 at my friend's house and I had to drive home. It was like such a mess. Anyway, that's my energy drink horror story.
You probably would have done better just like drinking alcohol.
Literally, but I had to drive home.
Which that just shows how terrible
How terrible
this
it
is for
is.
you.
Yeah.
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 And
So,
to all the people out there that do drink energy drinks,
hmm.
they're definitely people love them or they just don't really get into them.
Yeah,
And I know it's really hard to create something that tastes good
hmm.
without an
It
artificial
is.
sweetener. And people won't buy it if it, most people will not buy something if it doesn't taste good.
It's true.
So I totally get that. But at the same time, if you're somebody that likes energy drinks, I would
Hmm.
probably try to not drink them every day
Totally.
or
Totally, totally,
even
totally.
every
Or
month.
ever.
I
Try
mean,
not
just,
just
yeah,
avoid them.
that's the thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
So it
a
is
trick that I like if
goodness.
I'm gonna drink something that's gross, like a Coke or something like that, I dump half of it out and then drink the rest.
Oh,
Because
that's
I know I
smart.
won't stop at the halfway point.
Yeah. So dump it first.
I dump it first
Yeah.
and then I drink the rest. So I really, in reality, only want like three
That's a
sips.
good point. Yeah.
But that's probably also like probably an eating disorder in someone's mind, but whatever. It's not good for you. So it's better to just dump
No,
it
I
out.
feel like that too. We have this really, really cute hardware store, like mom pop hardware store, like
Hmm.
walking distance of our house.
Hmm.
And so we go there for everything. Like we'll just walk, and they
Hmm.
allow
Love.
dogs in there. They give our
Oh,
dogs
cute.
treats, blah,
Love.
blah, blah. So every time we go there, my husband, who is, I'm not going to say how old he is, but he's in his mid 30s, has to get an orange soda from the fridge, like in the glass bottle, which is great, maybe. Yeah. And he loves it. He's like a little kid. So then I always want like 3 sips of it, and
Yeah.
then that's all I want.
Yeah, totally. I want like a couple sips. I just want to taste it and then I'm done.
Yeah,
But I will say that I think Olipop does a really good job.
I do too. I haven't looked severely into their labels.
I look a lot into their labels. I mean, it's still soda.
Yeah.
It's not like something I'm going to drink every day, but if I want like a sweet treat, that is
Hmm.
a really good one, especially in the middle of the day. And it has 9 grams of fiber, which is crazy.
I've actually noticed that from drinking
So,
those
yeah, it
from
gets
a
you.
functional standpoint.
It gets you. So, yeah, I think it's important to note that there are better options. It's kind of
Hmm.
like I found these Swedish fish at the store the other day. They were $22, but I had to buy them.
How many
They,
did you get?
they were shipped in from Sweden
Oh,
at a
sold.
very
I'm
tiny
sold.
bodega in Jackson. I'm gonna send you some.
Yeah.
When I get home, I'll send you some.
Okay.
And they're really good. And someone Swedish following me was like, "Oh my God, we have those. They're so good." And they're only flavored and sweetened with fruit and colored
What?
with fruit. Yeah. So I had to buy them. They were
I
phenomenal.
remove all of my judgment.
They were so good.
Cool. I'm
Anyways, so I
gonna
got
have
D
this in
had the
my.
last one and I was like, I'm gonna kill you.
How dare you? Don't you know the rules around here?
He's like, there was literally one left in your car. Like a mouse is gonna get that. I was like, yeah, I guess you're right. Okay, the last category is the sugar alcohols. So, sugar alcohols, some dentists say this and some dentists say this is false. So, I guess it
Mm-hmm.
depends on where you go to the dentist. We're not
Yeah.
talking about fluoride, we are talking about xylitol.
Hmm.
Erythritol, sorbitol, and maltitol, which are again your sugar alcohols, and these have a very severe laxative effect, and in the research you will see this exact language. Large, loose stools and diarrhea will also produce gas and bloating and disrupt the mouth microbiome.
Hmm.
However, there are some lab experiments showing that if you chew it, it actually can harden your teeth and prevent cavities, which
Okay.
is
So
interesting.
that's a thing we like.
So we like that. So I also want to talk about the positive of these things, right?
Yeah.
So obviously talk to your dentist. I am by no means a dentist. My first dream job was orthodontist, fun fact.
Ooh,
Yes, I was
I did
gonna
not know this.
before I was gonna be a physical
You're a
therapist.
dreamer, Maddie.
I am. Dream big. That's so much school. That's a crazy amount of school is
Ugh.
orthodontia, but it's a really fun job. I loved braces. I love my teeth. It's like a whole thing.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so yeah, it could help remineralize teeth, but I think honestly, the gas and bloating effects, even when I chew a piece of gum, which I haven't chewed a piece of gum probably in a year and a half, and I used to chew a pack of gum a day in grad school to try and stay awake in class.
We go hard.
We go hard. Back a day, baby. Um, anyway, that is what I used to do in school to stay awake because I used to fall asleep after bartending. Um, and I mean, my
Yes, me
teeth were
too.
always fine. I never had cavities, but until I got a root canal once, but that's neither here nor there. But um, yeah, it definitely has a gas effect for sure.
I think so too. Yeah.
It's not good.
And you were closer. You weren't in the front, but you were
Mm.
closer to the front.
I had to stay awake.
As one of our professors termed me, I was a back row gal.
Who told you that?
I'll tell you later.
Okay.
I don't want to blast her, but my advisor, if you remember who that was, she
Okay.
actually she was the vestibular guru.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
She
I had a
told me
feeling
that.
it was her.
And I was like, is that a bad thing? Like, I just like the back row. That's where I focus better. And so, anyways,
Anyway, I was
here
in the
we
third row.
are.
There's only 5 rows, guys. There weren't a lot of us.
If you sit in the back row, that's fine. You can still be successful.
Clearly. Okay. That is what I have to say about artificial sweeteners. They're really bad for your gut microbiome. Really
Yes.
bad. And honestly, probably worse than sugar.
So I did some research too, looking up different research studies. And the research, obviously, there's always mixed reviews on things, but all of the
Hmm.
research leans towards artificial sweeteners are worse for your health than just using real sugar.
That's
And
so
when I looked
crazy.
this up, it was 83% of studies found that this was true versus
Wow.
17% that like kind of counteracted it, which who knows
Wow.
who funded like the counteracted ones. You know what I mean? Like I'm
Yeah,
sure people
totally.
who run studies that
Saccharin.
yeah, there you go. They're like, no,
Diet
it's fine.
Coke. That's
It's
how like Coke is
totally
like
fine.
available on food stamps or whatever. Anyway. Okay.
So most of the research that I found too was just basically talking about artificial sweeteners and potential effects. So everything that you mentioned earlier, just to like recap,
Hmm.
artificial sweeteners, especially consuming them. I mean, it's the little, we talk about this in every podcast. It's the little things that you do every day that add up over time.
Hmm.
It's not what I do tomorrow that's going to have an effect that I do one
Yeah,
time that's going to have an immediate effect on me.
totally.
It's the little things over time. So consuming a lot of artificial sweeteners can lead to obesity and metabolic disorders, like Maddie said, cancer,
Hmm.
which again, a lot of these things are, it's not 100%, but there's more research that needs to be done. But artificial sweeteners are also relatively new, like
Hmm.
as far as time goes. Cardiovascular disease, actually, like they found that it can lead to a higher rates of atherosclerosis, which is the
Hmm.
hardening of your arteries and leading to things like heart attacks, that kind of thing,
Hmm.
um, rather than just typical sugar.
Hmm.
Also
Totally.
can lead to things like Maddie said, headaches, GI symptoms, all that kind of
Yep.
stuff.
Hmm.
Um, and I specifically looked up artificial sweeteners versus just normal sugar, and all of that kind of holds true as well. We
I am
just
not
don't, I
surprised.
mean, some of these things are approved, but we talk about this again on a lot of podcasts.
Hmm.
A lot of these things are approved and then later taken off or reduce the amounts that are safe. So
Yes.
like they might get approved for the market, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're safe. And so I feel
Yes.
like the easiest thing you can do is just try to consume as little processed things as possible.
I totally agree. And the interesting thing is that all these say generally recognized as safe or GRAS.
Mm,
And that really, for me, doesn't feel safe. Like artificial dyes are GRAS, artificial sweeteners are GRAS. All of these things are generally recognized as safe, but there's not a ton of research saying, like, yeah, this is absolutely, we have like the long studies that say that people who ate this every day are totally fine.
right. Hmm.
Probably not. So I think I totally agree. It's the things that you do every day, trying to be as consistent with eating whole, unprocessed foods. The book Good Energy, I am almost done with. It is
Ooh, I
great.
want to read
I
that.
would definitely recommend it as a good
Okay.
read. It's definitely I was reading the reviews of it and a lot of medical doctors are pissed off. But
Really?
the information in the book is great.
Okay.
But the people who are mad are like, how am I supposed to get my patient to do this? They will barely take their blood sugar every day.
Okay,
You
that's
know,
fair.
so that's that
Mhm.
kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely.
But it
Definitely.
is a good read if you're looking
Right.
on like how do I kind of take steps to do this.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Um, One other thing I just want to hit really fast is common things that we use that have artificial sweeteners in them that
Yes.
we might not be aware of. So obviously we
Besides
talked
Diet
about
Coke.
Diet Coke. But a lot of things that just report that they're sugar-free in
Hmm.
foods and beverages, sugar-free candies, baked goods. You already talked about gum. A lot of pharmaceutical products, actually, especially for oral administration. So like
Oh,
cough syrup or
are
I'm
you
not positive. What?
joking?
Yeah, like
That
pharmacy.
totally makes sense, but that's horrible.
Also like supplements that you take that are like the chewy gummy.
Yes, don't take chewy
Yeah,
gummy supplements, please, guys. Okay.
just eat the just kidding. Don't do it. Yeah. Okay. And then another one, which if any of my friends are listening to this, I'm talking to you. Uh, Oral nicotine products. So like
Oh,
I can't even remember what they're called, but
Zyn.
like the
It's called
pouches. Zyn.
Zyn.
Thank you. I
Ugh,
should know that. Oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah, like Zyn,
gross.
like it's in there. It's in there. It's so
Okay.
it's not just the nicotine that you're consuming, it's all these other things that we just talked about.
Gross.
Yeah.
Okay, the craziest part that you just said about cough syrup and medications is that your gut health determines your immune system.
Hmm.
And so if you're going to take a medication that then disrupts your gut health, what?
Yeah.
Are you tracking what I'm saying? That
Yeah.
makes literally no sense.
Those are opposite things.
Yes.
Yeah. One is supposed to help your health and the other is
Like
really hurt.
obviously there is a time and a place for antibiotics. 100%. I take antibiotics.
Totally.
I
Yes.
am pro Western medicine. I am Western medicine trained. Both of us are. But
Yes.
also when it things like this just don't make sense, it's like, what?
Yeah.
Anyway, like
Oh,
azithromycin is neon pink, guys. What do you think that's
yeah.
anyway?
How does it? How?
How?
The
Yeah.
last thing, which I think that we're going to talk about this on a
Hmm.
separate pod, but
Yes.
uh, hygiene products such as toothpaste.
Yeah, oh my God.
Yeah.
I can't believe that.
Yes, friends. Also, the other thing that I want to mention, and this one I think hones true, especially with Maddie and I, and a lot of our listeners that are trying to find alternatives to maybe drinking alcohol or drinking like a soda or
Hmm.
something like
Hmm.
that, is even in like flavored waters, you have to be careful.
Mm-hmm. Stick to
Hmm.
Spindrift, friends.
Yeah, that Spindrift is the best one.
I think so. It's the one with the least BPAs, and they have
Hmm.
just like real fruit juice and carbonated water.
Okay, and also Dram. I know we talked about this one
Dram, we
a
love
while ago.
Dram.
DRAM. That's my favorite. It's made
Yes.
in Colorado.
So
It's
good.
like a small company too. We talked
We
about it in
love
our
them.
plastics episode. Yeah, it's great from that point. And then also, yeah, great for
Totally
health.
agree. All right, I want to list the list, and we will put this in the captions, obviously, of all of the names of the artificial sweeteners to look out for.
Yes.
When it comes to packaging for food dyes, you really just want to look for blue 40, blue 2, red 40, red 3. Like it will say red, whatever on there. But artificial sweeteners can be a little more sketchy. I kind of want to touch on high fructose corn syrup. Try to avoid that as much as you can. It
Hmm.
is chemically almost similar, but it has a different ratio of fructose and glucose than sugar does. It also has calories in it. So it's not an artificial sweetener, as in it's calorically has nothing in it, but it is not good for you.
Hmm.
So again, we have ACE sulfame potassium, so ACE K is sweet one or Sonnet, Advantame, aspartame, NutraSweet or equal. Neotame is Nutame, saccharin is sweet and low, sucralose is Splenda, and yeah, that's all of them. I
Perfect.
think I did it.
Cool. I'll add these to the notes of
Thank you.
this podcast so that you guys can look at them instead of just listen to them
Yeah,
because wow.
that's confusing and hard.
Because wow. Okay.
Screenshot
Beautiful.
the show notes, and then when you go to the store, you can
You'll have it.
have it. Yeah.
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 All right, Mad, do you have a favorite thing that we talked about today?
I think finally understanding how these things impact your gut, despite me knowing that I don't feel good after I eat them, having recognized the research, like, okay, yeah, these cause problems. And if you guys don't know, I have ADHD, and it's half the reason I don't eat gluten is because gluten gives me worsening ADHD, and I'd be willing to
Hmm.
bet that these artificial sweeteners and colors also do. So
Yeah.
that is interesting for me to know as well.
Yeah, I agree because we all know, I think most of us know that drinking like some sort of diet soda, like we've all heard this rumor that it's actually
Hmm.
worse for you than real soda, but nobody knows why. And so
Hmm.
that was a great explanation for that. I love that one.
For sure.
Um, I think the thing that I loved about this is just putting a name to the different
Totally.
names of the sweeteners that
Hmm.
we can look out for. And
Totally.
in some fashion, just trying to cut them out altogether. But when you are going to buy something like that, you know which ones to really just avoid.
100%. And
Yeah.
maybe I'll go to Target later and like record a bunch of these and try to make a reel out of it of like
Ooh,
different things.
that would be really good. I think when for me at least, and for you, when I understand why something is bad, it makes me
Hmm.
more likely to not do it. Like me
100%.
having this podcast today, understanding actually what's going on is like,
Hmm.
okay, wow, that's huge. And
Yeah.
that's probably a reason that my stomach hurts all the time, or that I can't focus, or that I'm feeling
Hmm.
like high levels of anxiety out
Hmm.
of nowhere. And it's like, I meditated today, I worked out today. Why am I feeling like this?
Hmm.
So
100%.
I love
I
that.
totally agree. All right.
Yay.
Thanks so much
All
for
right,
listening,
Queen.
everyone. Follow us at thewellbeing.pod and DM us if you need anything. Bye.
Bye.